What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the Greyt Podcast, episode 70, the big 7-0. On today's episode, we got the ACC Power Rankings. Ooh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun little episode talking about the worst conference in college football. And yes, it is the worst by a significant amount. All right, we got a lot of teams to get through, so I'm not going to lie, through some of these bottom tier teams, we might go a little bit rapid fire, a little bit quick through it, but then once we really get into the meat and potatoes, the top 10, we'll get more in depth with it as time goes on here, because there's a lot of teams in this garbage conference. So, we'll start at last, right? I think there's 16 teams, right? If I counted that correct, 16. Stanford Cardinals. They finished, I think they were the worst team last year. It was them or Wake Forest. I think it was Stanford, though. Finished last year. They lost David Bailey to the transfer portal. And quite frankly, this team is a mess. It's a house fire. It's trash. It's garbage. As you'll see with quite a few of these teams, I think these four bottom tier teams in the ACC, it's hard to look at, man. It's really hard to look at, and Stanford's one of them. And, it's a real shame that Stanford has had such a fall from grace from, where they used to be with Andrew Luck and Christian McCaffrey, but it is what it is. At 15, Wake Forest. Not much better. Honestly, you could flip the two. They're both terrible. Again, there isn't really much to say. Everyone kind of knows these are most likely the two worst teams in the ACC. Wake Forest, there was a time with Sam Hartman that they were somebody that teams thought that they thought, okay, this team could compete for the ACC championship maybe. And once again, another just complete fall from grace, and it's gonna. I don't know. I don't know when they'll ever, especially in the NIL era, get back to any type or sort of prominence, whatever you consider prominence to be for Wake Forest. But I think it's gonna be a while. 14th, Virginia. Now, Virginia is a team that I think is slowly but surely getting better and better, but that's not saying much considering they're pretty bad. They have Chandler Morris transferred in as their quarterback this year. Yay. That is really all I have to say about that. Again, these bottom four teams are really bad in the ACC, and I think Virginia has potential, just not this year. I think it's gonna take a minute. I really do. Same with Wake Forest. Same with Stanford. Now, at 13, right? Isn't it 13? It's something like that. Is it? Wait, no. I don't even know. Whatever number we're on, it doesn't matter. I have the Cal Golden Bears. Now, last year, Cal was a decent team. The issue with Cal this year is they lost a ton to the transfer portal. I think they lost 3 or 4 running backs. They lost their really good corner, Noel Williams, to the draft. They lost their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. He went to Indiana. And Cal is just in a really rough spot. They lost Jaden Ott, their best running back. He went to Oklahoma. They're in a really rough spot. And I like Cal, personally. I like Cal. I like that program. Marshawn Lynch, but Cal is going to have to, if in the future, when they get players of prominence, they have to learn to keep them. Because if they cannot, this will be their future. And, they have Devin Brown as their starting QB. I just think Cal's in a really rough spot this year with everything that they lost. And I think that's going to cause them to be one of the 4 worst teams in the ACC. Now we get a slight step up. not a big step up, a slight step up. Oh my gosh, I keep on clicking on the wrong team to look at their depth chart. North Carolina State. North Carolina State's a weird team. They're a team who it feels like every time you think they're going to be good, they're bad. Every time you think they're going to be bad, they're good. So maybe this means they'll be a top 5 team in the ACC, since I don't see it. You know, but they're just another team that is just kind of there. They lost some to the transfer portal. They had a safety go to LSU. Um, and again, a lot of these ACC teams, and I kind of realized this when I was making the list, the power rankings list. I was like, man, I just could not care any less about some of these teams, man. And NC State's one of them. NC State is a nothing burger. They are a nothing burger, okay? They're not good. They haven't been good in a minute. And even their good is average. That's the reality, okay? But on the bright side, I've kind of gotten through the teams that I really don't care about, to be honest. And now we get to a team that I actually do kind of care about and I think has a promising future, and that's Boston College. Now, why do I believe in Boston College's future? First of all, Bill O'Brien, I think, is a solid head coach. I think he can make Boston College relevant. Last year, they had a solid season last year. Obviously, they lost Thomas Castellanos to the transfer portal, which I don't think was too big of a loss. I mean, he was benched. He didn't really work out at Boston College, and ever since he's gotten to Florida State, he has been quite obnoxious. So I don't see it as that much of a loss, to be honest. I love their left tackle, Jude Bowery. I think he's really talented, a really good player. They have a running back whose first name is Turbo, which is automatic grounds that he's a stud. He's a stud just simply because he's a running back named Turbo. You cannot be bad with that name. It's unacceptable. They got Dylan Lonergan, a quarterback from Alabama. I don't think he's going to be the starter. I think it's going to be Grayson James, which you have a running back named Turbo, and then you have a quarterback who has the same first name as me, spelled a little bit differently, but I digress. It's a recipe for success. It's a recipe for success. I love to see it. Okay, I absolutely love to see it. Obviously, they lost Donovan Ezeraku as well to the draft, which will be a loss for them. But that's okay. That's okay. I believe in Boston College's future, and that's what matters for a team like Boston College. They just need to progress year after year. See, what number am I at now? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm at, okay, number 11. We are at number 11, so we're almost in the top 10. The team I have just missing the top 10 is the Pitt Panthers. Why the Pitt Panthers? There's a lot of people who are high on the Pitt Panthers this year. And a lot of that has to do with their quarterback, Eli Holstein. He's a good young quarterback that Pitt has, and he has a lot of potential, which is all fine and dandy. But I just don't believe in what they really have around him. Also, I'm not going to lie, it might have something to do with the fact that as a Steelers fan, I'm still salty that we drafted Kenny Pickett from Pitt and he turned out the way he turned out. But you know what? Let's just pretend like I'm not salty about that, and this is a completely fair ranking, okay? But I don't love the talent that's around Eli Holstein. That is my reason, okay? That is my reason. You can like it. You cannot like it. Personally, don't care. Let's get to the top 10. I would say this top 10 is really what matters, but it really doesn't because the ACC sucks. Number 10. Maybe this is a hot take. I think this team right here that I'm about to name at 10, I think they might be the team who is put in so many various spots in each and every power ranking. I think you could see them at 13 in a power ranking. I think you could see them at 6. I have them at 10. and that's Florida State. Florida State is, in my opinion, a big mystery this upcoming year. I don't think that their ceiling is ACC champions. I don't think that is possible. I don't think the team is talented enough. I don't think Thomas Castellanos is talented enough. But I could see this team being the sixth or seventh best team in the ACC. I don't think that'll happen. I think they'll be a middle of the road ACC team. I think they'll win 5 or 6 games. That's what I think. I think they go 6-6. Deuce Robinson is a wide receiver they got transferred in from USC. My issue is that Florida State has some guys on their team this year that transferred in that didn't work at their first location, and now we're just supposed to believe that they'll work in their new location. Deuce Robinson being an example, I think he has a lot of potential, but the fact is he didn't work in a Lincoln Riley offense at USC. What makes me think he's going to work getting thrown to by Thomas Castellanos at Florida State? Thomas Castellanos didn't work at Boston College. He got benched. He's supposed to be Florida State's savior? Is that what I'm supposed to believe? Especially with him talking so much garbage to Alabama. We know how that ends. We all know. Alabama is beating Florida State by a minimum of 30 points week 1, which, spoiler, that's my week 1 pick. But still, I stand by that. And that's just what this team is just filled with, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And that's a real problem for me. A real problem. Not to mention they had a few guys transfer out. I just think this team is so full of transfers, and all the transfers are just so mid. They're just so mid, and I think Florida State thinks that they're going to be back to prominence, and I hate to tell this to them. That's not going to happen. There is no alternate universe. There's no Marvel multiverse where that happens. Just letting you know now. But that's Florida State at 10. At 9, an interesting school that I really had trouble placing, the Duke Blue Devils. Why did I have trouble placing them somewhere? It's because of their quarterback that they brought in, Darian Mensah. I think Darian Mensah is a really good player, really good quarterback. I think going from Tulane to Duke is interesting because low-key Tulane might be the better team, but I digress. And I think Duke has potential. And if the players around Darian Mensah play better than I think they will, then I think Duke has a lot of potential to sneak into a top 5 ACC team. I just don't see that happening. Now, they'll have time with Darian Mensah. He's only a sophomore. So they'll have at least one more season after this with him to really maybe bring in some other guys through transfer portal or recruiting, however they want to do it. Probably transfer portal to make this team even better. I like their running back, I can't talk. Jaquez Moore. Gosh, I could not get that out. Jaquez Moore, their running back. I like him. Don't love him, but I like him. And I think the defense is going to be fine with the head coach that they have. His name is escaping me at this moment. Why is it escaping me? Hold on. I'm just going to do... Oh my gosh. Of course, when you look up head coach for Duke, it's going to bring up Shire, their basketball head coach. Manny Diaz. His name was escaping me. He is a defensive guy, and so their defense is, I think, going to be fine under his leadership. It's really how far can Darian Mensah take that offense. But I have them here at 9. At 8, another hard one to rank. Probably the hardest one to rank due to their new polarizing head coach, Bill Belichick, the North Carolina Tar Heels. North Carolina's defense the past couple years has been downright horrendous, downright awful, and hard to watch. Bill Belichick will make this defense better, but I do wonder how much better because this defense doesn't really have the talent yet. I think Bill Belichick can get the talent, but not in this first year. The offense, I'm more high on. I like Gio Lopez a lot. I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football. Gio Lopez, a lefty, a transfer from South Alabama. I think he has a ton of potential. I really like him. I think that was a good get by my man Bill. Kobe Pace. I don't know how you say his last. It's either Pacer or Pacehour. I think he's solid. I think Jordan Shipp is solid as wide receivers. Davian Gauss or Gase, it's one of the two. I don't know why North Carolina has these hard to say last names. He's solid as well. But it's really this defense. And when you look at the defense, a ton of transfers. So that could lead to a lot of progress on the defensive side of the football because you're just replacing a lot of guys. But we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see. But I am confident that Bill Belichick can make UNC at least a team that you actually have to pay attention to and that you have to at least take them seriously for this first season. And then I think sky's the limit going forward. I really do. I think Bill Belichick is going to work at North Carolina as long as they give him some time. 7. At 7, this is a team who I think a lot of people are disrespecting this year, and I'm not exactly sure why based off what they did last year, and that's Syracuse Orange. I was tempted to put them higher than this. I was tempted to put them in top 5, but I held back. I do realize that they lost some guys. I do realize they lost, Kyle McCord, who was a really good player for them last year, although they're bringing in Steve Angeli. I think this team, as long as Fran Brown is their head coach, I think this team is going to play hard. I think they're always going to be hard to beat. I think it's never going to be fun playing them. And I think you're always going to be to look out for Syracuse. They have Chris Peel at corner, a transfer from Georgia. I think Syracuse is here to stay in the ACC. I think they could 100%, as Fran Brown is their head coach, win an ACC championship at some point. Not this year, but at some point. And I think this is a team who's going to be a consistent top 7 ACC team for the next few, as long as Fran's there. Because I believe in Fran Brown. I believe in him. And I believe in his team. I really do. So give me Syracuse at 7. At 6, a team who plays on a Sunday night to start the season against South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Another team that could have snuck their way here into the top 5. I could easily have switched them with the team I have at 5. I'm pretty set on my top 4, but Virginia Tech, bringing back Kyron Drones at quarterback, had a disappointing season last year. Them versus South Carolina will be a very interesting matchup. Kyron Drones versus Lenora Sellers will be very fun to watch. A lot of running. Terrian Stewart, by the way, their running back. I'm pretty sure this is the guy that I'm thinking of. Let me look him up just to make sure that this is the guy. Yes, Terrian Stewart. Massive human being. He is a running back. He is a house. Okay? He is a house. Just know that right now. The guy is massive. He looks like a tank. Okay? He is only 5'9", but he's 222 pounds of pure muscle. He is a bowling ball. I think he's a transfer from Bowling Green. He is a bowling ball, okay? He is going to be hard to take down. Be very interesting to watch that. They did lose Mansour Delane to LSU, as I've talked about a number of times. I think they also lost an offensive lineman to LSU. Um, but I think this team is solid. Hopefully, this team can have the season this year that we all thought they would have last year, that I thought they would have last year. I thought they could be in the ACC championship last year. Yeah, they didn't even come close, but maybe they can kind of have a bounce back year this year and prove to me that they are a top 5 ACC team. We shall see. Excuse me. At number 5, who made it in? It is the SMU Mustangs. The team who was in the ACC championship last year. They were the runner-ups, lost to Clemson, made the playoff, and then got embarrassed at Penn State. They have nice players. Kevin Jennings, I'm still iffy on. I think he has moments where he looks great. I think he has moments where he looks terrible. I like their tight end, RJ Maryland. I would like him a lot better on other teams because I think he has a ton of potential, but with the quarterback he has, don't love it. I think last year was slightly a fluke. I think this team is good. Okay? I think SMU is a good team. I don't think they were as good as they played last year. And I don't think they're going to be as good this year. I don't think they're going to have the same amount of success this year. Partially because Clemson is better this year than they were last year. And I think Clemson would destroy them. That defensive line for Clemson would get let's just say Kevin Jennings would have a bad day. And I think there's 4 teams better than this SMU team. That's just how that's how I feel about it. And I think last year was slightly a fluke, and I don't think it's going to happen again for him this year. At 4, I have the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. It's interesting that this team is finally relevant. And yes, even as a Georgia fan, I am happy to see that Georgia Tech is relevant so that when we beat them, people actually care and it actually counts. Haynes King is coming back to quarterback. I mean, you want to talk about the definition of a lunch pail guy, of a first guy in, last guy out type of guy. That's Haynes King at quarterback. I think he's slightly overrated. I mean, people want to act like he's a top 10 quarterback in college football. He's not, but he is talented. And I think he just fits what Georgia Tech wants to do so well. Jamal Haynes at running back is solid. They did lose Eric Singleton to Auburn in the transfer portal. He was their best wide receiver last year, in my opinion, so that's unfortunate. But they did bring in Eric Rivers from Florida International, who was a highly sought-after wide receiver in the transfer portal. So shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't be too bad there. I think this team is just going to be they're always going to be a hard beat. I think they're going to be a rough team to play. They're going to play hard. They're going to play to just beat the crap out of you. And I just don't think they're going to be a fun team for anyone to play for a while here. So yeah, Georgia Tech at the number 4 spot. And the number 3 spot, even though I have this team going to the ACC championship, being the runners-up and losing to the team I have at number 1, I do have this team at 3 because this is a power ranking. This is how I see the rosters, okay? I have Louisville at 3. I think they make the ACC championship and lose to the team I have at 1. If you watched that episode, you should know who that is. I think Louisville. First of all, I think Miller Moss, their transfer QB from USC, slightly underrated. He had a really good start to the season at USC. He looked really good in the LSU game, and then kind of tapered off as the season went on. I think this year as long as he can just be more consistent, I think this Louisville team has a ton of potential. And I think I just think this Louisville team is a sneaky every year. No one ever really talks about Louisville. They always kind of look at Louisville and say, yeah, they'll be a good team. They'll be, like the fifth or sixth best team in the ACC. But I think Miller Moss can take this team to another level. I really do. I really do feel that way. And I really think this team can make the ACC championship, even though I don't think they're the second best team in the ACC. Because the second best team, in my opinion, in the ACC is the Miami Hurricanes. Now, why do I say they're the second best team, but they're not going to be in the ACC championship? Because this is Miami we're talking about here. This is a team who year in and year out disappoints, and I think that will continue because you have a disappointing team in Miami with a coach who has historically been a disappointing head coach in Mario Cristobal. I don't care that Carson Beck is their new quarterback. Did you see Carson Beck last year? Did you see Carson Beck? I saw him. I'm a Georgia fan. I watched every snap, every throw of Carson Beck last year, and I defended him through most of it. But that I can't deny that there were absolutely games where he struggled, to put it lightly. The Florida game, as a prime example, Carson looked awful in the Florida game. And I don't blame everything. I don't think it was all Carson's fault at Georgia. The wide receivers dropped the ball. Offensive line wasn't as good as it should be, and he didn't have a run game at all to help him. But how am I supposed to believe it'll be much better at Miami? They lost Xavier Restrepo to the draft. They lost Isaiah Horton to Alabama. They lost Damian Martinez, their star running back last year. Am I supposed to believe Mark Fletcher Jr. is Damian Martinez? Am I supposed to believe C.J. Daniels and Tony Johnson are Xavier Restrepo and Isaiah Horton? Because they're not. This offensive line, am I supposed to believe they'll protect much better than the Georgia offensive line? Francis Mauigoa, I think that's how you say his name, Mauigoa, is a really good player. He's a really good offensive lineman, one of the best in the country. He's one part of that offensive line. The defense was bad last year. The defense has been bad. Ever since Mario Cristobal has been there, the defense has been bad. He won't have the defense he had at Georgia to bail him out. Am I supposed to believe the defense is going to be any better? And if I am supposed to believe that, why? Why? I understand you have Ruben Bain Jr. He's a really good player. Again, he's one piece. I don't believe in Miami. I don't know if I ever will. How can I? How can I? And we all know who the number one team is. It's Clemson by a long. It's Clemson. I was about to say by a long shot. It's Clemson, and it's not even close. Is what I meant to say. Cade Klubnik is the best quarterback in the ACC. He's better than Carson Beck. Especially a Carson Beck. And by the way, I said all that about Carson Beck. I didn't even bring up the fact he's coming off an injury. The thing for Clemson that I need to see better wide receiver play. The offensive line has to improve. The offensive line has to run block better, and it has to protect Cade Klubnik better. If the offensive line cannot improve, this team is not winning a national championship. But if it does improve, they have a chance. Because the defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. Okay? The defense is full of studs. Wade Woodaz, Avion Terrell, Will Helt from Georgia Tech, Sammy Brown, a really young linebacker that Georgia really wanted. Not even to mention DeMonte Capehart, the defensive line, which is, in my opinion, best in the country. DeMonte Capehart, Peter Woods, TJ Parker. That's a menacing defensive line. And Will Held, by the way, he's on the defensive line too. But it should tell you something if Will Held is the probably the worst part of that defensive line. That should tell you something. Clemson's going to be really good. The LSU game will tell us a lot. It'll tell us how good is Clemson, how good is LSU, at least at that moment. Because both teams should get better as the year goes on. Every team should. That's the idea. So, like, if Clemson loses to LSU or if LSU loses to Clemson, I'm not writing the other team off for the rest of the season. That's not what I'm doing. But Clemson it's going to be trouble. Clemson's going to be trouble. I think they easily win the ACC. I think if they beat LSU, I think they go undefeated in the regular season, win the ACC. They'll have probably the 1 seed, unless there's another team in the regular season that goes undefeated. Then that team will probably get the 1 seed because their ACC schedule is the ACC schedule, But we'll see if this conference can get more than 1 team in the playoff. Their best chance is obviously Miami. I just can't believe in Miami. I can't. They got 2 teams last year, to be fair, because SMU was a surprise. In a way, Clemson was kind of a surprise because everyone thought Miami would win the ACC last year. I didn't believe that because I didn't fall for that nonsense, but that's besides the point. That's been episode 70. That's been the ACC Power Rankings. Next week, we got Big 12 Power Rankings. And then the week after that, we got Big 10 Power Rankings. And we get to talk about Week 0. Yes, sirski. Yes, sir. Now, I might do Big 10 with Big 12, but these episodes are taking a little bit longer because there's so many teams to go through in these conferences, so I probably won't do them together. So I'll probably have to put the Week 0 stuff with the Big 10 stuff. But next week will be 100% your Big 12 Power Rankings. I hope that you have a great day. Do not forget to go out there and be great.